Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers Monday Night Live. A couple of days for Rangers. It's been a really good victory over Motherwell, which was a wild game. So open, we'll discuss that. Delighted to have Kenny and Amrit with me. Kenny, how are you, mate? You well?
Yeah, not too bad at all.
Amrit, mate, welcome back. How are you? You well?
I'm very well, Stevie. Yeah, good to be back after a nice festive break, like everyone. Probably ate too much and drank too much, but it was a good time, and I'm happy to get back into some Rangers content with you guys tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rangers is what we're going to discuss. First of all, I'd like to say, ladies and gentlemen, I hope everybody had a wonderful festive period. I hope everybody is okay and well. It's been a difficult one for me last couple of days. People will have known and seen stuff that's been put online about me. I'm not going to discuss my private life on here. This is a Rangers podcast, and I'm going to do my very best to try and do that. It's been a difficult couple of days, personally, privately for me, but I'm not going to address it. I'm not going to allow any comments on it or anything. And hopefully we can have a good show, folks. So let's discuss Rangers. Kenny, really good victory on Saturday against Motherwell, and what was a strangely, wildly open game. End to end, unbelievably end to end. So many chances, so many good saves. I thought Motherwell were great. I thought Rangers were better. A lot to unpack, I think, but it's a 3 points. We're not winning many games at all by that number. So to get 3 points, is fantastic.
It was a cracking game of football, and I'm like yourself, very impressed by Motherwell. Actually, I thought they were cracking to watch, play a nice brand of football. Was a bit concerned after about 15, 20 minutes where they were kind of carving us open, but mostly coming down our right-hand side. But I thought we played ourselves into the game, and at the end of the game, I thought we fully merited the 3 points. I've got to say, I thought we actually kind of rose to the challenge and performed pretty well. I was really quite happy with the second half. I thought we, as I say, we got the Raskin goal that was ruled out, and then we got the winner with about 20 minutes to go. But I thought over the 90 minutes, I thought we just about shaded it. And it's a big win for us because we're in the midst of this hell of a run of games where everyone is a tough fixture. So 6 points out of 9 so far. And with the way this league is going, that's not too bad at all, mate.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot about Danny Rule and talk a lot about points and things like that, but it's another win. It's another clean sheet. Rangers now remarkably with the best defence in the league, which is wild considering some of the performances we've seen. 28 shots a goal for Rangers and some really good chances. You don't actually think about it until you go back and rewatch the highlights and that we should have scored a lot more. And I think that's kind of where we are as a football club at this moment in time. In my opinion, definitely deserved to win. But you were there. Give us your thoughts on everything. We're obviously going to talk about all the win, all the chances, the penalties, stuff, and everything else, individual performances. But overall, how much did you enjoy it, and what was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Stevie, Rangers are making it quite hard just now to enjoy the game. It seems to be quite chaotic and quite frantic no matter who we're playing. We always feel like, well, I certainly feel that we're almost one mistake, one long ball, one Butland howler, one misjudged pass, one defence splitting through ball away from losing a goal at all times. So you're always on tenterhooks when you're watching Rangers just now. But I think we were good value. 15 minutes, like Kenny said, we were really up against it. I think Motherwell started very, very strongly. They play lovely football, very comfortable on the ball. They all want the ball. They're all showing for the ball. So it was really, really nice to watch from them. But I think Jack Butland was brilliant for us in those first 15 minutes. Without his couple of good saves that he made early doors, we wouldn't have had the opportunity to play ourselves into the game. So kudos to Jack Butland, especially coming back after what had happened at Tynecastle the week before. And like you say, so many chances. It was like a game of basketball, just back and forth. And we were creating chances, 28 shots on goal. When's the last time? Have we ever created that amount of chances thus far in the season? So it's really, really positive to see. As far as the best defence in the league is concerned, I think it's a wild stat, Stevie. But just on that, I don't think that we have the best defence in the league because we are defending particularly well. I think we have the best defence in the league because we have the best goalkeeper in the league. That's what I would say. He's been the one that's made the difference. Yes, he's made some mistakes, absolutely, and he'll be the first to admit that, as he was in the press conference that we saw, that we'll go on and discuss a little later on in the show, I'm sure. But certainly Jack Butland, for me at the moment, is one of the best goalkeepers in this league, and he's had a massive impact on those defensive stats, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I thought he was brilliant on Saturday, that's for sure. How open was that game? I actually, in a weird way, really enjoyed it, even though at the time you're thinking this is a bit too much open and maybe a bit unenjoyable because you're in the moment and you're worried about Motherwell, you're worried about conceding a goal and stuff like that. But to watch as a game of football, it was like basketball. It was end to end and a lot of really good stuff. Probably as wide open, Amrit, as I've seen it in a long time. And I'll ask you, Kenny, the same thing. Fair, you know what? Absolutely fair credit to Motherwell. Teams come and put 10 behind the ball. They came and gave it a real go, created some excellent chances. They've got a lot of really good players, and I really enjoyed them. I thought they looked really good, but Rangers were better, and that for me is a big thing. And Amrit, as I said, Kenny, same to you. It's the most open I've seen a game at Ibrox in a Scottish game that I remember in a very long time.
Yeah, it really was very, very open, and sometimes that's very uncomfortable as a Rangers fan just now when you see other teams getting the space that they're getting. But Jack Butland was brilliant for us. I mean, I don't want to focus too much on Motherwell, but that Elijah Just is a player. That laddie, when he was getting on the ball, he was causing some problems for us. Young guy, 25-year-old, playing with all the confidence in the world. He's certainly somebody that I think would be brilliant at Rangers, if I'm honest. Maswanise wasn't there because he's away at AFCON. I'm not sure if you guys have seen, but he scored an absolute belter against South Africa, and he's another laddie, that young guy, 22, 23 years old, playing full of confidence. I would have loved to see what would have happened to Tav if Maswanise was on the left wing on Saturday, but I think we did really well, Steve. We created a lot of chances, some nice football in that final third when Mikey Moore came on. He was moving the ball wide, playing through Miovski, playing through Lyle Cameron. Chermiti had a couple of good chances. Well, we know what happened with them, the same thing that always happens. But it was really refreshing to see we were playing some attacking football on the break and creating some really good chances. We're just not as clinical as we need to be in front of goal. That's the only concern.
Sorry, any as wide open as you've seen in a game in a long time.
Yeah, and as I say, fair play to Motherwell. I thought they were excellent, and they'll have been back on the team bus a wee bit disappointed not to take something from the game. I would have thought, although I personally felt that we merited the 3 points, particularly with the sitters we were missing in the last 10 minutes. It was quite 5 minutes. It was quite nuts. But look, if you could get a game like that every time you go to Ibrox, it'd be well worth the money, put it that way. There's games where you turn up and they're very, very turgid, you know yourself, and we're struggling to break teams down. That game wasn't like that at all. It was literally, let's go and have a go. And I must admit, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cracking game to watch. I think if you're a neutral, you're a really, really enjoyed it. I think the last 10, 15 minutes was too much for me at times. You're like, I don't have any here, but I'd have been pulling it out if I did have, because you're missing sitters, you know, and it's frustrating. But what really impressed me with Motherwell is the fact that they are so well drilled, they're so organised, everybody knows what they're all doing, and the way they make space for each other was a bit, certainly in that first 20 minutes or so, it was a real concern for me that they were just playing through us as if we didn't exist. I mean, it was like, wow, this is too easy. And you'll not listen. We all respected the rest of the league. You'll not see many teams turn up and do that to us at Ibrox, where we could barely get a kick of the ball when they were just keeping it with an ease that was very pleasing in the eye if you're a Motherwell fan, but not so for us. But listen, I must admit I was delighted with the way we kind of dug in, and it's just almost through gritted teeth, found a way to get in and just dig in and get into the game. And as I say, over the 90, I thought we were probably just about the better side. And that's credit to us, because as I say here, I'm very impressed with the way Motherwell played. But I actually thought we played really quite well. Attacking wise, I thought we were, by God, see if we had a striker that could score. We would look like an outfit at this minute in time, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, this transfer window coming up, we've got 2 or 3 positions right through that spine that if we can improve them, Stevie, depending on what happens over the next couple of weeks here, you might find yourself in a title race. You never know, and I'm not getting carried away. I don't want to do that. But at the same time, you can see there's a makings of a football team here. It's taken a while this season to kind of see it, but the performance on Saturday I was really impressed with.
That's why I continue to give Danny Rule a lot of credit, and we will come on to him. Let's talk about the first half. Jack Butland with 3 excellent saves during that time, 2 in the first 15 minutes, and then 1 coming around 40 minutes, during which time Rangers had a number of chances. Gassama causing problems. I thought he was livelier. Ironically, I thought he'd done better on the right on the second half than he maybe did on the left. Asgard got into some good positions, and every time he did, there was nobody maybe about. And we created chances without really looking like we were going to take them. That one, that the shot, the kind of volley that up, and I think it was Barron that hit it with his left foot, and it got pushed out, and then Gassama saved. Gassama had a run that was saved. Asgard had one that was just wide. Fernandez had a header, which he would be disappointed in, from Tav's kind of short corner with Maghoma. So we had plenty of opportunities, and it was a really good first half. And end to end, a lot of runners from Motherwell that we didn't cope. But after 20 minutes, it changed. It did change. Danny Rule changed the midfield setting, and we changed how we pressed. And Rangers were the better team and certainly had the upper hand. But there's no doubting that both keepers, Ward for Motherwell and Butland, Amrit, were the stars of the show in that first half.
Yeah, but I mean, Jack Butland, I'm a big fan of Jack Butland. I always have been. I know that he has a mistake in him, but when the chips are down and you need someone to pull something out the fire, Jack Butland was there yesterday for us, not just once or twice or thrice. He was there, I think, 4 or 5 great saves, one at the very end of the second half as well. And that's what you want from a keeper. So I think he's done brilliantly for us this season. And I think, like I said before, he is the reason that we haven't conceded as many goals. It's just at the other end, you want us to be a bit more clinical. The chances are there. I think Gassman played as well as we've seen him in the last number of probably months. He was positive. He wanted to run. He wanted to get to the byline. He was looking for the ball. There's a few times where I felt that maybe he just wanted to run a wee bit beyond for me, because Magoma's looking to give him a ball, and it's almost as if Magoma wants him to run beyond so he can play him through, whereas Gassman sometimes coming a wee bit short and getting it into feet, and it just kills the momentum a wee bit for me. So I'd like to see him just try and go beyond the defender a few times and use his pace, because he's got it in the locker. And then effective on the right as well, second half, creating chances. I mean, it was his shot when he's come inside with that left foot colour. I'm not sure that was going in, but we'll take it all day. It was a good save, and then Asgard's in the right place at the right time. I've been a critic of Asgard as well, there's no doubt about it, but I think he played reasonably well yesterday. I would like to try and see him coming a little bit into play a little bit more when Tav's got the ball on the right or when Magoma's got it on the left, maybe just dropping in and looking for the ball. Sometimes it feels like he's lost between the midfielders and you can't really pick him out. So I'd like to see him come and get it and maybe get on the half turn and start moving forward. He likes to just take a couple of touches, move it sideways, move it back the way, which is fine. But from your creative players, from guys like him, you want him to start moving forward. But I think that's a confidence thing, Stevie. I think that perhaps will come in time. But the technical abilities there's no doubt about that. I mean, that chance that you spoke about that went just wide, the way he wriggled through, there's about 3 or 4 of them there, and he's wriggled through, and he still managed to get the shot away, and he was unlucky. So some really positive signs and good performances. I think Connor Barron, for me, is probably one of the guys now, apart from Jack Butland, that is beginning to be a real stalwart for this team. He's performing at a very high level consistently. I don't think he's technically gifted, but he's not there to be technically gifted. He's not there to create much. He's there to be dogged, to get stuck in, to break up the play and win the ball. And he was running around like the Energizer Bunny for the duration of the game. And I think he was absolutely fantastic. And he's maybe the heart or that no surrender spirit that DJ was talking about at half time, because whatever he said, it seemed to get them going, and we got the goal in the second half. So there we go.
Yeah, we certainly did. Kenny Butland talked about Barron as well. I thought Raskin grew into the game and got better. I did think Gassama was really good. Let's talk about Yusuf Chermiti for a second, because at times I thought his link-up was great. He wins a brilliant header, flicks it on, it goes out wide. They cross it into him and he falls over his feet and it goes wide. I think 10 minutes in, takes a lovely touch, goes one-on-one in his third touch. The Motherwell defender smacks it off him and it goes out at the halfway line. He's starting to get bits and moments, right, that you can see in a youngster. And then other times he looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't make runs that I want him to make as a striker. He doesn't seem to have any composure. But as it's a very low bar, but you're seeing a little bit of improvement. And then Miovski comes on and looks wildly out of place for me. He was put through twice and dallies. He hits one at a defender and then cuts it back for Cameron. Where's my striker just taking that on and getting on with it? Yeah, the nines aren't making it easy for Danny Rule. He talked about wanting one, which we'll get to. But individual-wise, who impressed you and what did you make of Yusuf Chermiti?
On Chermiti, he's a little bit of an enigma wrapped up in a mystery, struggling with a puzzle here. I genuinely don't know what to make of him at all a lot of the time. Frustrating, I think, is the word I would use, because you do feel that, with all respect to him, and I do agree with you, I actually thought his overall game on Saturday was actually pretty decent. I actually thought he did really quite well, but you need your striker to get into positions to score goals and then hit a fair ratio of them on target and put some of that ratio in the back of the net, and it doesn't look as if he's ever going to do that, I've got to be honest. He scored against Hearts last weekend. It was completely out of the blue. It was a cracking finish. And this is why, for me, when you see, as you say, Miovski, I think it's very difficult to compare the two, because one's cost 8 million and one's cost 2.5, 3 million. But the two of them, between them, must frustrate the hell out of Danny Rule, because you're looking at that and saying, these are, when you put an outlay like that we have for Chermiti out there, you're not getting a goal return out of that. And then you think Miovski's probably your senior striker and looks at times as if he's also another one that looks as if he's never seen a football. At times it's quite mad to watch guys that, I mean, Miovski's an international player, mate. He's played in our league and done well, and you're looking at him at the moment and you just think, oh, what's going on? What is going on with you? Who impressed me? Conor Barron, as Amrit said. I thought he was excellent. I thought he was probably my man of the match. I thought Jack Butland had a terrific game, which just kind of is par for the course this season, bar last weekend's calamity against Hearts, where he's talked about it himself, and it's kind of almost an inexplicable error, but a terrific game. Kept us in it in the first 20 minutes, I thought. 2 cracking saves. And it could have been a very different game if we go a goal down. You know what Ibrox can be like. It's a tough place to play your football when the Bears are angry. So that, other than that, I thought we actually were all right in general, Stevie. I didn't think we were good the first half. I thought Gassama had a terrific second half. I didn't think he had a particularly good first half, but I thought second half he was excellent. Asgard, I thought, was all right. Took his goal, and that's about it. But overall, Stevie, for me, it wasn't so much about individuals on Saturday. I just look at that game, and I think Motherwell were probably in the longest unbeaten run in the league because we had lost the week before and Hearts have lost and Celtic are losing. And I thought we did really quite well against them. I've seen a couple of comments there saying that, Butland's making too many saves and, the first half was terrible. Listen, you've got to give your opponent a bit of credit sometimes. And as I say, I genuinely felt that Motherwell were very good. I don't know what you two have both kind of said that as well. I thought they were very decent and we've overcame that in what is a tough fixture against a team that's playing really well and playing nice football. So, but if I was given a man of the match on Saturday, it would have been to Conor Barron. I thought he was excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, it was Jack Butland for me. Myself and Davey had the moment Jack Butland makes a crucial save down to his right. It was a really good volley by the Motherwell striker. I think Jack's last major moment in the game, Rangers, then Davey and I went live to do the kind of talking about that, and Rangers broke up field and scored. It's always nice to get a goal live on the match day vlog, so that was a good moment for us. But it was a deserved win for Rangers. However, here's the frustration: how many times should we have tied that game up? The real lack of quality and cutting edge is so frustrating. There's nobody with the incision to go and make that cutting moment, to go and really make it count. And you've seen it, they all passed to each other. Really disappointing. We've had some really good chances in the second half, which we passed up. Yes, Ward made a couple of good saves. Ironically, Chermiti's hardest chance, the kind of back flick that he done, was a really good save. Mikey Moore can't get the rebound. We do score from Nico Raskin, and it gets disallowed because Chermiti's probably in the goalkeeper's way. So for Rangers, it's a mixed bag because it's positive. The movement's better. We are breaking well. We look to be pressing better. We're very well organised. 6 clean sheets and 7 wins is hugely impressive. And we've done well. But as we know, there's a mistake in them. But what Danny Rule's doing, I think, is limiting them. 23 points out of 30, 7 wins out of 10. These are really good from Danny Rule, in my opinion, and I'll continue to defend him. 1, because I like him and I'm desperate for him to do well, but 2, because I think these numbers stand up. Before we talk a wee bit more about Danny Rule, there was a penalty shout for Motherwell, which at the time, I must admit, first thing I did was look at David Dickinson. Gantry's at the other side. We don't get a replay of it. I've since seen it. If Manny Fernandez gets a touch on the ball for me and the boy plays him, Dermot Gallagher, ref watch this morning, said it's up to the referee. He didn't see a penalty. It's always going to be blown up to more because it's Rangers. It's not a penalty kick for me. Fernandez definitely gets a touch on the ball when you look at it from the corner, the kind of away end, that view. Definitely gets a touch on the ball, definitely wins it for me. The boy then kind of leaves his foot in to make contact. It's not a penalty for me. I think people know me. I've been honest. I said, St Mirren, the Livingston should have had one. I think that was fair. And I'll always call it as I kind of try and see it. That for me wasn't a penalty kick. Amrit, your thoughts on Motherwell's penalty?
Yeah, similar to you, Stevie. At the time, I didn't think much of it, and then I went home and looked at the replay, and the boy's almost led with his left leg and is almost looking for the contact for me a little bit, and then he's gone down. I mean, I could see them being given, if I'm honest. We've seen penalties in that nature that have been given, no doubt about it, in this league and other leagues. But for me personally, I don't think that's a penalty. I think it would have been really, really soft if they got that. And that's me being very balanced and objective.
Kenny, your thoughts on the penalty? As I said at the time, I was heart and mouth. Having seen it back, I think it's a really good decision by Dickinson, who I thought overall was okay, but made some baffling caution decisions. Not booking players and then book sparring, and it kind of like, you've set a bar and you've let people away for ages. And yeah, it was a good performance, but an inconsistent one. The penalty one is a good call for me. I think even if he gives that, when it goes to VAR and they have that angle, I think VAR are telling them it's not, and to go to the monitor, because for me, Fernandez does win the ball and he does then leave his leg in looking for contact.
Yeah, I don't think it's a penalty for me at all. I think that the fact is that you can see it clearly in the replay from slightly behind and to the side of Fernandez that he plays the ball and the boy literally runs into his leg. However, the furore about it is quite amusing to me. Is there an Old Firm game coming up at the weekend, Stevie? I think you'll probably find there is. Did Celtic get a highly dubious penalty at the weekend? I think you'll probably find they did. But let's all talk about Rangers getting some decision that they want to talk about. I find it all really quite pathetic, quite predictable. If the country should be talking about any penalty decision at all this weekend, it's the one where Maeda has two hands on somebody's back, pushes the boy into the ball, and whether it's a penalty or not, I couldn't care less. Right? I genuinely don't care. I don't understand this, where the entire country wants to talk about us and our decisions, because there's an agenda there, and it's blatant, and it's tedious, and it's boring, and it's not a penalty. He's won the ball, for goodness sake. And there's also another angle where I think it's kind of to the other, the opposite end, where the other side, where you see Fernandes win the ball, and the boy's halfway down before the contact. He's decided he's playing for a penalty. It's not a penalty kick, but there's a reason for the chat about it. That's all I'll say, and it's nothing we're not used to in the build-up to a particular game, is it? So, yeah, bring it on.
I'm going to end this just by saying how well I thought Rangers done to win that game on Saturday, which was a good game to watch. Well done to both sides, but well done to Rangers, because I thought they overcame. There's been a lot said about Motherwell. I think Motherwell unbeaten in 10, 5 clean sheets in a row. Rangers deserve a hell of a lot of credit for that. I thought we created an abundance of chances. We don't look like scoring them. That's the thing. And we know that, so it's something to fix. But I thought once we made our changes after 20 minutes, I thought we were by far the better side. Motherwell had a couple of chances after that, yes, but we had at least 10 where you would look at and think, come on, lads, we should be doing better there. That, for me, is a huge, huge promise. And really pleased with that, and really delighted for Danny Rule and for the players, because it's a good comeback. Jack Butland was excellent. Conor Barron, excellent. Dujon Sterling, who we've not mentioned, really is sublime on the eye. I think he's absolutely terrific. I really, really do. All in all, a great 3 points. And listen, it was 1-0, just like Hibs was 1-0. These are games that Rangers should have, I think, be scoring 3. And we need to get to that clinical level. But overall, for me, well done, Rangers, cracking 3 points. We'll look back on that as being close, when in reality, Rangers have done really well, created a lot of opportunities. A wee bit more cutting edge, we'll get more. But really pleased with that one, Amrit, Kenny. Delighted with the 3 points.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those games that, as I say, the way I would put this, if we were sitting there playing under Russell Martin, we're not winning that game. We're not winning it at all. It was actually very similar to the first game of the season, where we turned up over at Third Park and Motherwell were excellent, although we were much better on Saturday. That's the way I'd put it. I think Motherwell probably played to the same level they did in the first game of the season, and look a tidy outfit. And the Celtic are away there tomorrow night. Whether they win or not, I have no idea. But that'll be a tough game for them. Of that, there is no doubt. Any team playing that Motherwell side is going to find it tough, unless they're on a proper off day, because they are a tough team, a tough nut to crack. They're a tough team to play against as well. So absolutely delighted to come away with the 3 points. That as I say, we've already said, the nature of it is that they're sitting. They were third before we played them at the weekend, and they're sitting at the top of that table for a reason, mate. They are a decent side.
Yeah, Amrit, anything to add before we kind of move on?
Yeah,
you've normally got a speech to give, so
tell us
how. Give us a battle cry or something.
No, listen, Derek Johnson said everything I was feeling on Saturday at half time anyway, so he stole my thunder. But listen, like you say, lots of chances. I think at the end, the flurry of chances, let's look at who they fell to. They fell to Miovski, Curtis, Lyle Cameron. These are guys that haven't had a huge amount of football over the last wee while. So you can understand why they weren't as clinical. I'm with you on the Miovski thing. I think your striker has to say, listen, this is mine. I'm not squaring this. I'm a striker. There's no danger of me squaring this to anybody. I'm going to rifle this across the goalkeeper into the net. And he just doesn't have that confidence at the moment. But the real refreshing thing at the moment is to see that we're creating chances, we're positive, we're trying to go forward. And yes, okay, defending at times is suspect, but we've got a lot of good players coming back. Sterling now has definitely been a wonderful addition back into that team. He's shored up that back four. He's there, he's commanding it. He has a wonderful presence and authority, which is something that was lacking. He's a leader, he's a trier, he's a fighter, he's everything that you want a Rangers centre-half to be. And then we've got Big Soapy's coming back as well. Whether or not he comes into the team, I think is something we will discuss. But certainly there's a lot of positives moving forward now. And I truly believe that if we are still in touching distance come the turn of the year, with 3 or maybe 4 good quality signings, and I don't want to jinx this, I feel that we will give ourselves a definite opportunity to be challenging at the end of the season.
I would love to share your optimism, but before we got there, we've got to beat St Mirren and we've got to go on Saturday and get some sort of result. Kenny, Danny Rule spoke after the match and said he wants the club to be brave in the January transfer market, spoke about needing players. I think he knows now. I think he's given a lot of opportunities to Danilo, Miovski and Chermiti, and nobody's really taken it. He talked about a striker, wants a few players in, wants them in quickly. He's been speaking to players. There's been rumours that there's one lined up. I spoke about that before on the podcast to come in. Don't have any names on that. You look at the way that Rangers done business and brought in Stig Bjornby into the club, and nobody had even a whiff of that. So perhaps there's deals lined up. They really need to be, Kenny. But links today with Alfredo Morelos for £5 million is just wishful thinking. Josh Windass has very much been played down officially. Rangers might have asked the question, but actually made bids and loans and things like that. I'm not sure. It might have been a tentative. Could we get him? Is he available? But it's very much been played down. Other links include Scotty Arfield, which is usual because he's just been released by Falkirk, or he's asked to be released. I think Scotty's going to be a wonderful coach. One of the best podcasts I've ever done with Scott Arfield. Absolutely a tremendous guy on the site somewhere. But Kenny, he talks about wanting a striker. He's right. We also need a right winger. We also need a midfielder. We also need a centre back. We also need a right back, maybe a left back. It's not too much to want for, is there? But a strike, somebody with a wee bit of incision is absolutely needed, isn't it? A wee bit of quality, a wee bit of that killer instinct.
Well, we could do a number 6 and a number 10 while we're at it. So, Stig and the team have got plenty to do in January. That's what I would say. For me, it's hard to define what the critical area of the pitch is for us at the minute, because I think we need upgrades in every area really. But I'll focus on the forward line at this minute in time. And when you actually look at from the 3 number 9s in Chermiti, Miovski and Danilo, none of them have done enough. Gassama started well, hasn't done enough. Finlay Curtis, maybe not a huge amount of chance, but when he comes on, he hasn't done enough. Askar hasn't done enough. Bayrami hasn't done enough. You could go on. In our front line, it's not strong enough. For the numbers that we have, or the number of bodies we have, we're not getting results out of that strike force at all. Mikey Moore's the only one that's ultimately over the period since the start of the season has begun to impress me. The others haven't. Gassama did at the start, isn't particularly at the moment. I just don't think he's consistent enough. But the key area is, I was talking to my son last night, and he actually said that he actually thinks somebody like Telo Asgard is the prime example that if you get a cracking top experienced number 9 for him to play around, he says there's a player in Telewascar that you can tell if you get better players around him, he will be a better player for us. And I can see what he's trying to say, and I do kind of understand that. But the priorities I can understand why Danny Rose literally pulling that fine mane of hair out at times, because he must be watching us the likes of the Hibs game and the game at the weekend and thinking there was a point I'm sure we were 4-on-1 and made an ass of it. I mean, for goodness sake, at 4-on-1 and you can't make the right pass, you can't make the right decision. When you do make the right pass, you're overhitting it. And most of the time you're not even making the correct pass. That is a proper issue. That's coming down to the mentality of the players, and that is where I think that needs an upgrade. I personally have said this, and I think you've said it, I think we've all said it on this podcast. Listen, we need to strengthen our spine. That's where we need to really look at. Perhaps another centre-half, depending on what's happening with Cornelius. We definitely need number 6. I would like to see a number 10, and I'd like to see a number 9. But we definitely need another left back, without a shadow of a doubt. We need cover for Magoma, because with all respect to Max Aarons, who's been playing out there when Magoma's not, but he's not good enough. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but he's not good enough in his own natural position. So to push him out in an unnatural side where he has no left foot is just bonkers to me. So we need a left back to get more balance in that team. And as I say, the next couple of games the next 3 or 4 games are going to be really important, mate. And I can understand why, when he said he's had the meeting with Andrew Kavanagh, that he wants the club to be brave, because I'm not even necessarily convinced that's all to do with bringing players in. I think a lot of that will to turn around and be really quite ruthless with players in January and tell them you don't have a future here already. And I think he has to be, as a club, I think we have to be brave with 4 or 5, perhaps even more of the new signings from the summer, and actually tell them, look, if you don't leave now, we are definitely going to actively move you in the summer. So go and talk to your agent and see what you can do. Because I think that's equally important for the football club as well, Stevie, that for all that we need bodies in, we need to get lots and lots of bodies out, because that's me just talking about the new signings. But when you consider some of the fodder, if you want to call it that, that's still there from the previous seasons, the place needs emptied. So tough job in January, and let's see how they do. But I do understand, as I say, why Danny Rose suggesting that the football club has to be brave about this window, because I think it's vital.
Yeah, it's strange, Amrit, because I've went from we need a 6 to we need a 10 to we need an 8 to we need a right-hand winger or a 7, if you like, to now watching that game and watching our Hibs game and stuff like that, saying we need somebody that's going to put the ball in the net. And between the 3 of them, they haven't really taken their opportunity. I still think that Danny is the best finisher we have, and I think he showed that in some of the finishes he has, but then doesn't get into the positions that Chermiti gets in and can't finish. And Majowski, for me, has been a huge disappointment. I don't quite know what it is. He looks almost disjointed. So for me, I've said a 6, because I believe it'll help Raskin and stuff like that. You come away from the game thinking if we had a decent, ruthless number 9, then we could maybe get a lot more. But there's so many players you look at there, and you think, could a better player help that player? Could he be, like Kenny talks about Telo Asgard? I'm not sure I kind of buy into that. There's definitely a player somewhere, but I've not seen enough to be able to be convinced. It would be foolish to write any of them off. But Diamandi's so off the boil at the moment. Could he be helped? I think he might be able to. Could somebody up front properly help your Moores and your Asgards and that? It's a lot of putting together. You spoke about if they get 3 in and they're right, could we be back in a title race? I just think that's wishful thinking at the moment, because every time we come to a big game like Hearts, we seem to make a mess of the bed. So I can't be convinced yet, Amrit. But if you were given, you talked about having a 3 or 4 that you would want to sign. Who is your positions that you want to fill then?
I think for me, and everybody's talked about it extensively, first of all, the three strikers we currently have at the club, Danilo, Miovski and Chermiti, let's not mince our words, neither of them are currently or ever will be of the required standard that we need if we want to challenge for this title. That's just a fact. And we need to get someone in that's going to put the ball in the net. So for me, we need a centre-half that can defend, we need a midfielder that can create, and we need a striker that can score. That's really, for me, my priority if I'm Danny Rowe right now, because we need to make sure that our defence is firmed up, because chances are now we're going to be looking at maybe Suter coming back into the team potentially, which means you then use Sterling on the right-hand side and you bench Tav. I think Suter, Fernandez, Tav and Magoma is probably the strongest back four, if we're going for at the back, that we've got at the club currently, for me. So you're going to be looking at that. So I think you need another centre-half no matter what happens. I think you need a six in there, because Raskin's not really giving us that defence splitting pass and creativity that we're looking for. So we need someone that we can do that. I think Rothwell was meant to be the guy that did that for us, but never really has managed to live up to that expectation. And then we need a clinical goal scorer. It's as simple as that. I think after you've done that, Stevie, then I think you look at left back, you look at right wing, maybe at right back. But I think your priority absolutely has to be a centre-half, a six and a striker in the immediate term. And I think those deals, I would like to think, are getting done now in the background, in the shadows. I hope they're getting around the tables and getting in the rooms and having these conversations and seeking out potential targets now before January. It's been very, very quiet. It's been Josh Windass and these kind of guys. Very underwhelmed at the prospect of Josh Windass coming back to Ibrox, if I'm honest. I know there are some people that think it would be a good signing. I would take Scotty Arfield back for 6 months if he was available, 100%. I would put him in that team and I'd keep him to the summer, give him a short-term contract, see what happens. I would absolutely love to see Scotty Arfield in there. The man that's just, you cut him open and he bleeds blue. He would run beyond the last line. He's always the one that's on the shoulder, wanting to go forward, fight, spirit, heart, everything we've been lacking. I think he'd be a great mentor for some of the younger guys to look up to, someone who's been there and done that. For me, I think he'd be a great addition, not just for what he offers on the pitch, but for all the class that he offers off of it as well. And I think that's a real asset to any team that wants to be successful. So in answer to your question, Steve, I think the spine is the first thing you address. And then I would like to hope your Asgards, maybe your Ant-Mans when he comes back, your Gasmans, that these guys, when they're playing with better players, hopefully that will encourage them to lift their level as well, because that's what we need. So that's would be my main area of focus, Stevie, would be the spine.
Only my opinion, Scotty Arfield's a no for me. I love Scotty. I think he's a great guy. I've spoken about it. Really, really likeable guy. Would you have him as a coach? Would you have him about the team? Yeah. Would I have him in the team? I'm not so sure. A lot of comments about Bowie of Hibs, which is interesting. Kenny, he's a cracking big lump of a boy up front. Would he score enough? Is he clinical enough? I'm not entirely sure. He scored some good goals. It would cost us £5 to £7 million to get him off Hibs. We've got that money. He would have been the boy I would have bought instead of Chermiti, actually, if you were throwing around and you wanted that type of player. Chermiti, by the way, I had the reference on Saturday. Reminds me a lot of Umar Sadiq when he was here. That same kind of, like, what are you up to and where are you running to and all that kind of stuff. And he's done all right. Anyway, going back to Bowie, I watched Hibs pretty much scud Hearts, and then they have their obvious Hibs, doing what they do in the last 10 minutes. I think Bowie's a shout that we should be really keeping an eye on him for our 9, for the big lump of what he puts in a shift, and he's a big pain in the arse because he fouls and he gets in amongst it. He holds up the ball. What about Bowie, Kenny? Would you have a look at him?
I absolutely would. I said at the weekend that he's exactly the type of player that we should be looking at. But there's a number of them in our league. You look at Cammy Devlin, you look at Gogic, you look at the two boys in the middle of the park for Motherwell. I'm not saying we want to go and buy all these guys or sign all these guys. You look at Shankland, prime example. There's players in our league that will do or could do a tremendous job for us. And Bowie is the one that, if we're not going to go and get Shankland, I would still turn around and look at it and say, go and buy Lauren Shankland, go and wind Hearts up a little bit and put a cheeky offer in for him right now. Turn around and say, we'll give you £1 million for him. They can knock it back for all they like, just disrupt it a little bit. And I know a lot of Hearts fans won't like that, but that's what big clubs do. They take the better players from their league and sign them, and that's what we should be doing. And it's something that you and I, Stevie, have discussed this at length on this podcast over the last couple of years. It's something we don't do enough of, is take the best of the players in our league. And it's something that in my lifetime we've always done, apart from really in the last 5-10 years where we've just stopped doing it. You look at Walter would do it, Jock Wallace would do it, Dick Advocat did it, Graham Souness did it. All our top managers weren't naive enough to realise or consider. Prime example was one that at the time, and you two might be a little bit young for this, but at the time, Ian Ferguson was at St Mirren, and people were like, oh, he's a good player. We went and spent 800,000-900,000 quid on him, when 800,000-900,000 quid was a huge amount of money, particularly for, almost a player from our league going to another team in our league. And what a player he turned out to be for us, all the way through 9 in a row and beyond. That's a special player that was sitting there playing for St Mirren. And we changed his position slightly, sat him slightly deeper, and what a job he did for us. And there's loads of players in our league that we should be looking at. Bowie is one that, as you say, I don't think we'd get him for any less than, I think you're probably right, it's probably about 5 million quid before they'd even start to think about it, because I think he'll go places. I think he's a type of player that you could find, for the perfect example of this minute in time, is that our younger players seem to be going to Italy. You could actually see him going to Italy, becoming a consummate professional over there and becoming a right tidy player in that kind of league. So why shouldn't we be looking at signing him? If we have money to spend, he is without question a future constant Scottish international for me. I don't see anything other than that in his future, that he's going to pick up 40, 50, 60 caps for Scotland. So we should be picking up players like that immediately when they become available, or force them to become available, if you understand me.
Laughing at the comments. Bowie, great shout. Bowie, really good. Bowie's dog shit. Bowie would rather have David Bowie. What are you two talking about? So yeah, we're here. Listen, we can't say we don't all have different opinions. St Mirren tomorrow night. Rangers haven't beaten them in well over a year. Smashing. Sat down on Saturday as well, and Davey said, "You know, last time we beat Motherwell at Ibrox was 2024." I was like, "Cheers, Davey." Tough game. The Premier Sports Cup winners, as we know, beautifully. Chance to set us up for the game on Saturday. Absolutely right. What would you do with your 11, lads? I'm quite interested to find out. Amrit, would you switch it up? Would you bring John Souttar back in? Because we probably need to give him game time before Parkhead. Diamande, would you keep him in midfield? There's questions there. Would you bring Mikey Moore back in? Would you play Russian roulette and give another number 9 an opportunity from the start? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of kind of questions, I think, Amrit, but I'm interested to find out what you would do. And Scotty Arfield can't play, mate, so you can't say him.
I mean, like you say, listen, St Mirren are a quality team. They've done well this season. They've beaten Celtic, obviously, in the Premier Sports Cup final. They drew with Hearts in the league. So that's 2 results that we haven't managed to get against either of those teams this season so far. 3 clean sheets in a row as well. They don't score an awful lot of goals. They've only scored 15 goals in this league this season, which is less than 1 a game. But Ayunga and Lundaloo up front are a handful. You saw what they did at Hampden to Celtic. They tore them apart. They're 2 big, strong laddies. Declan John on that left wing as well. He's got a lot of assists. He likes to get beyond. So for me, I think I've already said that my strongest back four for Rangers just now, given the availability, would be Souttar and Fernandes in the middle, Sterling at right back and Magoma at left, if we go for the 4. Because I think we've got to play Souttar purely because if we've got an eye on Saturday, which I think Danny Rule will have, and he wants to have Souttar involved in that game, then we need to give him game time against St Mirren. I've always been the advocate for when a player's coming back from injury, play him from the start and then take him off, rather than playing him once the game's gone, or we're chasing the game, or we're a few goals down at 60 minutes into the game. I would much rather play a player from the start, take him off at half-time if you need, or 60 minutes, and give ourselves something to protect. So I'd like to see Souttar in that. If we go with the back four, that would be the back four. I think if we're going for a three, it would be Sterling, Souttar and Fernandez, and then your choices at wing-backers. Do you play Tav or do you play Aarons? That's a decision for Danny Rule. For me, Dio, pull him. I'm fed up with Dio, if I'm honest. I've spoken to a lot of people about Diamande. Some are really big fans of him, others not so much. I've always liked to give him a chance, but I just think that his form currently is not good for him and it's not good for the team. So I think you pull him, reset him, and then maybe use him again in the future. But at the moment, I think you pull him, you play Mickey Moore in that. If we're going to go for that 4-1-3-1 type formation that Danny Rule seems to like at the moment, the 4-2-3-1 rather, then I think you've got Barron and you've got Raskin Holden. They're both very effective at the moment, Barron especially playing very well. And then in front of them, I think you play Moore. I think you play Gassman. I think they've done enough. And I would play fellow Asgard, if I'm honest, in that position. I think he got his goal. Give him a little bit of a run. I think he did well. I think he's done enough to keep his spot. And then through the middle, unfortunately, I think you've got to play Miovski. It wouldn't be my first choice, but it's the only choice, if I'm honest. You can't play Chermiti and you can't play Danilo. For me, it's got to be Miovski through the middle on his own, and Gassman, Moore and Asgard behind him would be what I would go for, and I would stick with the 4-1-3-1 that seemed to, 4-2, I keep getting that wrong, 4-2-3-1 that seemed to have worked quite well for us. He might want to go with that 3-4-3 or that 3-5-2, depending on whether we're in possession or not in possession. He might decide to adapt slightly to St Mirren, but for me, I would stick with the formation that he went with against Motherwell, and those would be my changes, Stevie.
I lost. I got confused by all those numbers and everything else. It's fucking Mikey Moore as well. Mikey Moore. And it's Gassama. People are doing their tits in the comments.
Yeah, people are going nuts in that chat.
Mikey Moore. Right, I'm sorry, everyone. Honestly, I apologise. I really do. Kenny, changes tomorrow night. Would you bring in Mikey Moore to start the game? What would you do? What would you play? I'm interested to know. I'm not sure if I would make many changes because I think you're just swapping one for the other, and I don't know. I really don't know.
I think I would bring in Jonathan Souttar, Michael Moore. I don't know. Being serious, I would certainly start John Souttar with the expectation that you'll want him playing next weekend. So I'd give him an hour. I would play four at the back. I would be playing almost like a 4-3-3 against St Mirren. And I know that I'm saying that, and it's been a long time since we beat St Mirren, and we keep playing a 4-3-3 against them, and they keep playing through it. They have got that ball over the top to their two big lads, and it causes us bother. So for that reason, I'm actually in the middle of saying this, and I'll probably change my mind and actually think we might go with an extra spare man at the back. I would certainly start Mikey Moore over Mo Diamande, because I'm a big fan of Diamande, but my goodness, he's having a poor season. He is having a rotten time of it, and he's frustrating me now, and I've been quite patient with him, but on the striker situation, I would actually be playing Chermiti. I think he's kind of beginning to stabilise as Danny Rule's kind of first choice, I think, and I think that's probably because of the disappointing performances of the other two, in Miovski and Danilo. I just don't think there's much there at all. At least you're getting a bit of work rate out of Chermiti, and that's the least you expect. To understand that, but again, because of the injuries and stuff that we have at the minute, Stevie, there's not huge amounts, but I've kind of changed my mind halfway through discussing this and saying and thinking I'd start before, and then thinking about it and saying with the two big lads that they've got, I'd probably keep a spare man. So I'd probably go with three at the back and try and get them down the wings, because I think if you start with Magoma and I wouldn't play James Tavernier. That's the issue. That's kind of part of my problem. That I don't want to sit and stick a boot into James Tavernier, but I thought he was really bad at the weekend again. I just think he was really, really off it. And he needs a rest, if nothing else. That's me being nice about it. But you'd probably have to start with Aarons and Dujon Sterling as one of the three. That's what I would be looking at. But it's a tough one, because it was nice to see Lyle Cameron get some minutes, but I very much doubt that he'll start them. So it'll be Mikey Moore and Barron and Raskin in the middle of the pitch, and that's kind of where I'm at with it, mate. I think we need to go and embrace the game. I think we really need to go and really go at them from the get-go tomorrow night, and go and get the 3 points and set yourself up really nicely for the weekend, because make no mistake, they'll have a tough game tomorrow night as well.
Yeah, I don't care about them. What I am starting to worry about is Amrit's debut on the gantry tomorrow evening. I can see it now. Mikey Moore has a storming game. He'll do the press afterwards. And he comes to the room and Amrit will go, "Mickey, it's you." And then, you know what I mean? You better bring sweets, Amrit, honestly.
I'll bring sweets, I'll bring positivity, I'll bring optimism, and I will bring also the correct and accurate name for every single player in our squad, I promise you. All right?
I bring the positivity, mate. Me and Davey.
So you do. You bring suicidal thoughts, Stevie. That's what you bring.
Absolutely not. Kenny, good evening, mate. Thank you for coming on. Much appreciated, my friend, as usual. Amrit on the gantry. It's a loose cannon next to a seasoned pro in Davy Edgar and me at the other side. So it might be the last time that four lads get in the gantry.
Yeah, you'll keep them right, mate. Don't you worry. And it's Mikey, Amrit. Mikey. Think about it that way. It's listen, thanks for having me on, Stevie. Thanks, Amrit. Enjoyed the show. A wee quick comment on stuff over the weekend. Listen, there's much more to everything than meets the eye. And don't believe much of what you read, half of what you hear, and it's all bullshit. And the truth will come out eventually, but lads, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, thank you everybody for all your comments, joining in on the podcast, thousands watching as per usual. Really appreciate the support. And yeah, everybody that's been in touch, asked after me, etc. I appreciate it. Listen, it is what it is. People can say what they like and do what they like. One person in particular has made it a mission, and I'm not going to let it happen. So we continue on. Really looking forward to being on the gantry tomorrow night. It's a privileged position to be in. We really enjoy it here at Four Lads, and that will continue. Huge thanks to everybody in the comments, all our members. Members pods, go and watch podcast with Chris Burke. Cracking watch. Chris talks about his time at Rangers. It's the 5th episode in our Rangers years. Davy Robertson's also been on the last couple of weeks. We've released that for everyone to go and watch. He was on with Davy, so go and watch those things. We do them for you to try and get content, to try and thank you for being members of the pod, which is 600 odd strong. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you to also our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clydeview, Fire Protection and Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, our very own Amrit Candid, man of the match as usual. Amrit, tell us about Candid before we go.
Candid is a multi-site dessert business. We're based in Falkirk. We have stores in Falkirk, Polmont, Grangemouth and Denny. We make all our own fresh gelato every single day, which I make. So follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, those kind of places, and you can see what I get up to on a daily basis. I do work by the way, contrary to a lot of people's belief. They think I just sit behind a desk all day, but absolutely not. I'm very hands-on, and I absolutely love what I do. And Candy's been a great part of my life, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And I'm grateful to all our customers as well, because without them, I simply wouldn't have a business. So thank you, everyone.
Amrit, do you have a cool box?
Do I have a cool? Yeah, I've got a lot of cool boxes, Stevie. Why do you want one?
Well, no, I was thinking, like, if you took ice cream with you on a drive, like to Ibrox, for example, do you have like a cool box that you could store it in, so that when you got there and you had this wee bald friend,
I do, Stevie, but for you, well, for me to drive to Glasgow, the delivery charge and the service fee would be quite astronomical. So you can decide whether Four Lads or not want to pay that, and I can invoice you accordingly. It's entirely up to yourself. Sweets are free, by the way. I'm happy to bring sweets, but ice cream's at a premium.
I could happily take it off your gantry appearance fee.
Right, Stevie, let me see what I can do. We'll get some sort
Stevie,
of placement on the gantry.
I'll give you a free haircut, mate, right?
I wouldn't trust you. I've seen your haircut. I would never trust you.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us here on Four Lads. I will get that ice. I can't wait till you go to watch the vlog tomorrow, and I'm covered in it. Just little sprinkles and all sorts. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a really pleasant Monday. We'll be back tomorrow night with the match day vlog. Might even do something on Wednesday. I don't know if we will or not. It is obviously Hogmanay. Will we go on a wee bit earlier or something? I'm off. Might come in and talk a wee bit more about St Mirren tomorrow night. We might do that. You can let us know if you fancy an afternoon recording or something. We might get a couple of people on. But until then, folks, join us on a match day vlog. It'll be myself and Amrit, which will be fun. And take care, everybody. Look after each other. It's nice to be nice. Take care. Bye for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.